welcome everyone to today's Synergist product demo webinar, Modernize Your Hearing Conservation Program and Protect Your Employees with WAHTS Hearing. I'm Kay Bechtold, Managing Editor of the Synergist, the magazine of AIHA. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and especially WAHTS Hearing LLC for sponsoring this webinar. Today's product demo is scheduled for 30 minutes, so I'm going to dive right in and quickly introduce today's speakers, Shoshana Russell and Isaac Lambert. Dr. Shoshana Russell is the Chief Audiologist and Director of Sales and Marketing for WAHTS Hearing LLC. Prior to her work with WAHTS, Shoshana spent over 10 years working as an audiologist at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. Isaac Lambert is the Commercial Sales Manager at WAHTS Hearing. Isaac partners with companies to implement effective hearing conservation programs and ensure compliance with regulatory standards. And now I'll turn the presentation over to Shoshana and Isaac.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen and we'll go to presenter mode. So you should be seeing my screen right now. I'm going to get a laser pointer just so I can show you a few things as we go along. We're really pleased that you're with us today. This will be recorded, so if you're hopping in late, hopefully you'll be able to catch the recording and get what you missed. But before we jump into WAHTS Hearing, I just wanted to kind of take a step back and kind of review what's the purpose of hearing conservation? What are we doing here? We know that occupational noise exposure affects many people. 22 million is what is estimated at. And largely, I wanted to show this slide just for this last bullet point right here, because I think it's something that is critical and that's something we need to remind ourselves often, that noise-induced hearing, which is what happens with hearing loss, which occurs at work, employment, is 100% preventable. So today, hopefully at the end of the day, you get some ideas on how you might be able to use WAHTS Hearing to not only assess hearing loss in the workplace, but also prevent noise-induced hearing loss. This is important because hearing loss, noise-induced hearing loss, is permanent. So if we look at the anatomy of the ear, and for sake of time, I'm not going to go into full anatomy, but inside of our inner ear, right behind our mastoid bone, is our cochlea, which is the heart of our hearing. And inside there are what's called 3 rows of outer hair cells, which is shown in this left side of the graph, 1 row of inner hair cells. This is what healthy hair cells look like. And on the right, you see what happens after someone has been exposed to excessive noise exposure, where you can have a permanent degradation of the inner ear structures. These outer hair cells look destroyed, the inner hair cells are not intact. And you can imagine that someone with an inner ear that looks like this is not going to hear the same way someone with an inner ear structure that looks like this. Something else to just keep in mind is that this type of hearing loss, this inner ear hearing loss, does not get better as we age. In fact, it usually gets worse. And this is the same type of hearing loss that noise-induced hearing loss causes in the inner ear structures. It's something that a hearing aid will not repair. So when someone wears a hearing aid, they're not going into the inner ear structure and repairing any of these cells. So that's a common misconception, and it's often a complaint from hearing aid users is, hey, I have this hearing aid, but I'm still not hearing the way I'd like to be hearing. So what can we do about that? Well, we know that also occupational hearing loss has been linked with both intrinsic and extrinsic factors. So things, not only hearing loss, but also tinnitus or ringing in the ears, difficulty communicating, cardiovascular disease, social isolation, depression, etc., as well as all these extrinsic factors. But we know from studies that have looked at the effectiveness of hearing conservation programs is that those that spend more money on training and fit testing alone show lower rates of hearing loss. So this is something you can do in your hearing conservation program to decrease the number of significant threshold shifts and better protect your employees on the job and off the job. So to kind of bring it back to WAHTS Hearing, we are a newer company. We were developed alongside NIH and the Department of Defense. We began sales around 2020, primarily exacerbated by COVID, because we've worked with the military closely. A lot of the multi-person test stations had to shut down during this time because of COVID, and they went to find a boothless solution for hearing testing. So we had a large increase in our sales, and we've now become commercially available. We started as just sort of a research system, and now we're commercially available. We have a large presence in manufacturing, occupational health, oil and gas, etc. We are proud to say we're made and manufactured in the US. So our headquarters is actually in Lebanon, New Hampshire. And just so you're aware, so in terms of boothless systems, you still need to have a fairly quiet environment, but we're changing the shape of hearing conservation. So you no longer need a sound booth where someone goes inside to perform the hearing test. It's big and bulky, hard to move. You've also seen mobile trailers that pull up at workstations where they can test maybe 6 or 8 people at a time. But those people are essentially trapped in a mobile trailer until the slowest person finishes their test. With our solution, WAHTS Hearing, it is a headset. The headset actually replaces the sound booth and the audiometer, and it allows for hearing protector fit testing. So you can do both your assessment, your training, education, and fit testing all in one device. It comes with the headset as well as the tablet, and I'm going to be talking to you more about our WAHTS solution. So just in terms of features and capabilities, our headset is quite unique in that the attenuation of the headset really replaces a sound booth. That's how we were designed to actually have high attenuation in the lower frequencies where it matters most, and I'll show you more about what that looks like. You don't have to be concerned about not being compliant. We are OSHA compliant. We also meet the Department of Defense requirements for hearing conservation. You can do automated testing. So you can do hearing testing with a self-paced hearing test. You can test multiple people at one time. You can customize your workflow. So you can actually do a health survey, the hearing test, and fit test. You can kind of create a test suite if you want so that you can roll right through from health survey to hearing test or hearing test to fit test, whatever you'd like to do. In terms of time, there's an average hearing test time of about 7 minutes. We have seen hearing testing done in about 4 minutes and change, and on the slower side, maybe more like 15 minutes. It's all going to depend on how accurate the person is and how reliable they are in terms of taking their hearing test. But on average, we see about 7 minutes. Like I mentioned, you can do multi-person testing. So with multi-person testing, you can set people up in a room. You're really only limited to the amount of space and the admins you have available to manage. You can essentially do as many people as you want. We do have an admin tablet connected to test takers. Without internet connection, you can test 7 people at a time. With internet connection, you can test as many as you can handle. But you can also have people be in their own standalone systems, not connected to an admin. And in that scenario, you're only limited to the number of people that you can monitor the group in the room available to you. In terms of hearing protector fit testing, our software gives you what's called a PAR rating, or a personal attenuation rating. It's a great way to train an employee on how to properly wear their earplugs, and we do meet the ANSI S12.71 specifications for earplug fit testing. The results come out of our software both as individual PDF reports that can be printed and handed to the employee, or you can test a group of individuals and have their results exported on a CSV file or Excel sheet. We also support direct integration with third-party medical records. So we currently have a couple integrations in place. Cordy is one of them. It's a major occupational health software. We also have one with Nexus OcuSound, which is going to be released very shortly. That just tracks hearing data. We're also talking to companies like Enterprise, Epic, OHM, Oddbase, etc. So we're not a data management solution, but we make it easy to export our information to wherever you want to be your long-term storage data for your hearing test results. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you do have the option to do a health questionnaire. It is customizable, so you can create your own questions or add additional questions to what we've already created. And then another unique feature of our system is that you can do remote testing. So you can have the headset in one location, and so long as you have an internet connection, you can actually have your headset somewhere else and connect remotely and do remote or teleaudiology hearing testing or hearing protector fit testing. This is what it looks like when you purchase a single unit. So it comes with the headset, which replaces the sound booth. The attenuation, it actually provides more than a single walled sound booth, and I'll show you that in an upcoming slide. The audiometer is embedded inside the ear cup circuitry. It's our own proprietary system, so it has its own maximum permissible ambient noise levels, or M panels, and I'll show you what those look like. And then it communicates over Bluetooth to a mobile application. You get the tablet with the unit when you purchase one. So you're getting the headset, the tablet, the output check stand, a quick start guide. You get this protective case. It's easy to bring around, very portable. You can ship it from location to location if that's something that you're interested in. We meet all the highest standards. So for hearing testing, we're FDA, ANSI, OSHA, and IEC compliant. For hearing protector fit testing, we meet the ANSI S12.71 standard. This is a very strict criteria. We're very proud that we meet this. Not all fit test systems out there meet this criteria. The DoD now requires hearing protector fit testing. NIOSH has said fit testing is best practice. OSHA also considers fit testing best practice, although they don't specifically call it out in the standard to require it. However, they do say make sure your employees have hearing protectors that fit. And so the best way to do that is by doing fit testing. This next slide looks at the attenuation of our system. So when we're looking at this, our like I mentioned, our headset is proprietary. It was built to have high attenuation in these lower frequencies, which is where it matters. So we know from research that when you start testing hearing outside a sound booth, it's more of the low frequencies that can interfere and cause issues and make a hearing test unreliable. So it's ventilation noise, air conditioning systems, etc., that happen to be noisy in a boothless environment. Our headset is the attenuation of our headset is this dark blue line you see here. The red dotted line is a single walled sound booth. So you can see we outperform a single walled sound booth at 500 hertz. And if there's one frequency that tends to be the problem frequency when you're testing boothless, it is 500 hertz. So we perform even better than a sound booth there. We do have competitors that have other claim to be boothless solutions. Most of them just use a standard off-the-shelf headset like the Radio Ear DG450, and then they connect to a tablet, and the tablet has the audiometer. Our solution is much different, and it's built to provide this high attenuation in the lower frequencies so that you can really get clinic quality testing in more environments. Because we have the high attenuation, that rolls into higher maximum permissible ambient noise levels. So the WAHTS M panels are the dark blue columns all the way to the right. And what you'll see is that in the lower frequencies, we have the highest M panels out there. This shows comparison to other headsets or transducers that are on the market. And again, this is where it matters when you're testing boothless. So because of our high attenuation, we have higher M panels. These are approved by OSHA. So OSHA has said it's okay to use these ANSI derived M panels, which take into account the attenuation of the headset. Our system integrates with a Svantech sound level meter. So if you are in a test room or a test environment where there is transient noises that you cannot control, I'd recommend doing continuous background noise monitoring where you're connected to a sound level meter, and the system will actually pause if any of the room noise gets too loud and exceeds our M panels, which are built right into our software. So when you integrate with this particular sound level meter, it'll auto pause during any hearing test or hearing protector fit test if any room noise is excessive. And all depends on the room that you plan on testing in. So if you have a quiet office location that doesn't have noise that exceeds our M panels, you don't need the Svantech necessarily, but it is an option should you need it down the road. This is an example of what multi-person testing looks like in the real world. So our system is really efficient at providing rapid throughput for multi-person testing. So this was during COVID. This is at Fort Meade, Maryland, a Department of Defense location where they shut down their multi-person booth. They went to this classroom style where they space people apart. They now continue to do this, and they're kind of the gold standard and model for hearing boothless hearing conservation in the Department of Defense. So we have more and more sites using the same model and replicating it, where they space people out, they use the WAHTS headset, they do their hearing testing and their hearing protector fit testing, and then release a soldier or service member as soon as they're finished. What's nice is that each individual is in their own little sound booth, so you can dismiss someone and then fill the seat with the next individual right away without waiting for the whole group to finish. And that's what makes our system really, really quick to have a rapid throughput when testing a large number of employees or service members. Here's just another example of multi-person testing. Of course, these are military sites, so there is a large throughput, but you can also just test one person at a time. We have plenty of locations that test 4 people at a time, or just even 1 or 2 people at a time. It all really depends on your needs. Just to get an example of what the throughput looks like, this is Oregon National Guard, and the WAHTS team flew out there to assist with a PHA event. We saw 50 soldiers per hour using 12 watts. And that's where we found that the average hearing test time was 7 minutes for these soldiers. Quick glimpse of what our software looks like, although I'm going to stop early in a few minutes to let Isaac show you what the software looks like in real time. But just so you have this, and I wanted this to be a part of your PDF, it's very easy and intuitive. You hit begin and you're just tapping the blue rectangle when you hear the sounds. The results are exported as OSHA formatting, so it'll flag if there's a significant threshold shift at 2, 3, and 4. You have the option to do age correction, so you can enable that or disable it depending on your needs. It will show the current test compared to a baseline if you've imported baseline results. The employee can sign their name at the bottom, acknowledging they're the person that took the test. And then again, you transfer our results to wherever your long-term storage data is going to be. So for example, if you're using something we have a direct integration with, it's as easy as just connecting to the internet and hitting export, and the results go direct from our system to your data management system if you're using something we're integrated with like Cordy or the Nexus software. I want to touch on hearing protector fit testing before I turn it over to Isaac to look at the software. So I think we've already kind of mentioned the importance of fit testing, but we know that the noise reduction rating, or the NRR, that's on the packaging of earplugs is a laboratory value. That doesn't really tell you how much protection that employee is actually getting. And in the real world, most employees are wearing their earplugs in such a way that they're kind of falling out of the ear and really being more decorative than actually protecting the ears and hearing. So it's often common to see foam earplugs sort of hanging out of the ear canal where they're not deeply fit and therefore not getting very much protection. So fit testing is a tool where you, instead of relying on the noise reduction rating, you're getting a PAR rating that tells you exactly how much protection that employee is getting based on the way they fit their earplugs. It's a great training tool, and it can help reduce noise-induced hearing loss. This is what our results look like for fit testing. So here's Janet. Our fit testing uses what's called a REAT style as a threshold-based task. So basically, you find hearing thresholds in an open ear or unoccluded position. Then Janet put her earplugs in, put the watts on top, and found hearing thresholds in the occluded position with the earplug in. And if there's a good fit of her earplugs, you should see nice separation between the lines. The actual attenuation values are in the table, and then the 3 frequency average becomes the PAR rating. So instead of relying on the noise reduction rating, you can see Janet is actually getting 21 decibels of attenuation from her earplugs, and you can determine if that's good or not. Generally, that's a pretty good value. With our system, you can test any in-ear style of earplugs, foam flange custom. This is a quick glimpse of what the listener prompts look like, although I'm going to have Isaac show you in the software what that looks like. But very similar to the hearing test, there's not a lot of retraining that is needed to go from one evaluation to the next. And I'm going to go ahead and pause here and stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go ahead and let Isaac share his screen, and he's going to kind of walk us through the software.
Great. Thanks, Shoshana. As you can see, I am now sharing my tablet screen. So I have my headset and my tablet connected. And I'll just back up a little and provide some context. As Shoshana mentioned, each Watts unit comes with the headset, which is the audiometer and the transducer, and the tablet with our software pre-installed. So when you get it out of the box, you're ready to go. A tablet is essentially charge it, open up the software, and you're ready to start testing. This little menu icon in the top left is where you'll set up your project. So I'll just walk through each of these steps right here. Manage project is where you can customize your project settings. You can name your project, the company you're testing at, city, state. So whatever naming mechanism you come up with for your hearing conservation program, this is where you can edit that. You can also edit the background noise monitoring. So you can have it off, or you can do one-time noise monitoring where you'll get a reading of the room that you're testing in and then import those results. And then the other option is that continuous background noise monitoring that Shoshana talked about with that Svantex sound level meter. Moving down here, you can choose the test parameters. So we can test all the way down 125 all the way up to 16,000 hertz. And so there's a very wide range that you can choose for that automated test. The standard OSHA test is 500 to 6,000. And so that's the default when it's shipped to you. But I do know, of course, some sites like to test 8,000 and others, differ slightly. But you can customize the testing frequencies. You can also do age correction. This is for the earplug fit testing. You can choose the type of earplug that you want to test. As Shoshana mentioned, you can do any in-ear protection, which is really valuable. If you have some sites that have foamies, some that have custom, you can test any of them with the WAHTS as long as it's in-ear. You can even select a passing par rating. So say for everyone that wears foamies, you want the company-wide standard to be a par of 15. You can set that on the back end here to where it'll save it in the software. When they do the test, it'll either give them a pass or a fail based on this par rating. There's a lot of other options down here, test suites, as Shoshana mentioned, custom surveys as well. So there's a lot of customization that you can do on the back end. Managed test takers is where you would upload your roster of employees that are part of your hearing conservation program. We have a few options up here. This default patient list just uploads some dummy information. You can upload from a CSV right here, and that is basically an Excel file with the roster of your employees. You could type in one-on-one individually, so you don't exactly know who's going to be coming in to your clinic or your testing environment. You could just type them in here. Lastly, you can also import from Cordy. So if we have any Cordy users on the call, we have a great integration with Cordy where it'll prompt you to log into the your Cordy account on our software. And here you can search by employee first name or number. And so this is just dummy data here, but search employee first name L and we'll test Lou Moxham here. I don't know who Lou is, he's dummy information, but we'll import his record here and you can see this is directly from the Cordy account that you have. As Shoshana mentioned, we have this integration up and running with Cordy, but we're working with other software companies as well. So if you work with a health record database and you want to explore an integration, we'd be happy to work with you on that as well. I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll also import default patient list here so we can get a little taste of both. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and last thing I wanted to show you here is this background noise. This right here is where you would either connect the sound level meter, the Svantex sound level meter, or if you have your own sound level meter, you can just get a reading of the room and type in the results right here. These are M panels, so as long as the room is below these levels, you're good to go for testing. Now we're ready to go. We're ready to begin testing for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and select my patient from this drop-down menu. Lou is the guy we imported from Cordy, so we'll go ahead and select him. Confirm identity. At this point, you would hand the tablet to Lou and have him confirm all his demographics here. You can choose the language you want to test in. We have quite a few languages in here, and we can add more easily if you have a lot of employees that speak a certain language. We can add them into our software pretty easily. We'll go ahead and do English, and then we'll select the evaluation type. So as you can see here, we have the survey, we have the automated hearing test, we have the fit test, we have the manual mode, and then this last option is that custom suite, that custom workflow that we could build on the back end. For the sake of time, I'll just go into the hearing test and show you what that looks like. Click Begin Evaluation, hand the tablet back over to the test taker, and they would be prompted to put on the headset. There's some instructions here to remove glasses or eyewear and chewing gum. Whenever they're ready, there's a brief practice session. Just plays a few practice tones at 1,000 hertz to get them comfortable with the system and the response mechanism. They'll click Begin. When they hear a tone in their headset, they're going to tap this big blue button. These buttons down here are just on the demo version so that we can fast forward, but you won't see this on the actual version. But it's as simple as you hear the tone and you tap the button. I'll go ahead and fast forward through the practice. Again, that takes about 30 seconds. And then the official hearing test begins, which takes an average of about 7 minutes. So when they're ready, they click begin. And you can see at the top, there's a progress bar, which is really helpful because a lot of times when employees are in the booth or in, traditional hearing testing, they don't know how far they are during the test. And, some of them think, oh, I got to be almost done, or like, how much longer is this going to take? So the progress bar is really helpful to help them pace out the test. So again, it's simple. When they hear the tone, tap this button. I'm just tapping randomly, of course, so it's not going to fill up at the top, but I'll go ahead and fast forward here. And you can see the results are plotted immediately on the screen. This is dummy data. This would be a slightly concerning audiogram in the real world, but you can see here this gray line is the baseline that was from Cordy. So we pulled that information from Cordy, or if you don't have a Cordy account, or whatever, whatever system you use, that baseline is going to be from there or from the spreadsheet that you uploaded. And then this blue line is their left ear. This red line is their right ear. It plots it all out here on this chart and then in this table down here, and it'll calculate the shift automatically down here. When they're done, they'll sign, certifying that they took the test, click save. Um, and then if they're all done with that, you can do another evaluation. So we could do a fit test real quick, or you can wrap up the session by clicking this little flag icon here. I'll show you real quick what the fit test looks like. You can choose the earplug type, and then that target par, which we set on the back end. And the fit test is exactly the same. So they have, again, a brief practice session, and then they go into the actual fit test. So they're going to test with the earplugs out. And it's only at 3 frequencies, so it's a shorter test. And then they're going to test with the earplugs in at those same 3 frequencies. Again, hear the tone, tap, and then it calculates their personal attenuation. So this top line is earplugs out, bottom line earplugs in. You can see in this scenario, they had a par of 12, which is below that 15 threshold that we set. So it marked it as fail. This would be a great teaching moment did you insert it properly? Let me see you insert it. Does it fit correctly? A really, really great teaching moment for hearing protection. So they would sign there, save. Let's go ahead and wrap up this session here by clicking that flag icon. And then it takes you back to this home page where you can then select the next person. To see all your tests throughout the day, you go back here and view export session data. And this is Lou's records here. So these are his hearing tests and then his fit tests right there. I'm going to stop there because we're running low on time, and I think we can take some questions. But that was a quick snapshot of the software. If you're interested, we can do a more in-depth demo another time. But are there any questions that we can answer with the remaining time we have?
Thanks, Isaac. I was answering a few questions as we went along. So if you still have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Good question, how to reach us. Isaac, you want to put the WAHTS info in the chat?
Yeah, sure. I'll put our email in there.
Okay, Isaac will do that. Just to refresh and review some of the questions that were asked. The hearing protector fit testing, we're not tied to a manufacturer. And so there are some fit test systems that use a probe where you can only use specific styles of earplugs with their fit test system. With our system, you use any earplug, and I'd recommend you use the kind the employee is actually using on the job so you can see how much protection that person's actually getting based on their earplug that they use and the way they put it in their ear. So you can use any manufacturer foam flange custom. It just has to sit inside the ear canal. We don't do hearing protector fit test on ear muffs at this time, though we do have a research group that has been using the WAHTS around the neck to get a par value on supraoral muffs. So that might be coming down the road, but right now we're only validated on in-ear hearing protector devices. So the average cost of a single unit, we start at $7,350. That's not too bad. If you compare the cost of a sound booth plus an audiometer plus a fit test system, that'll starting with that would be $14,000. So we're pretty much half the cost. If you're purchasing in bulk, cost goes down as quantity goes up. In terms of the octave-band analyzer, if you do want integrated noise monitoring, where the system actually pauses if room noise gets too loud, you do need to use the Svantag as a particular model that integrates with our software. If you want to just use your own sound level meter and be recording kind of offline and then manually input those results into our software, there's a way to do that. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, you do need octave band.
Factory calibration. So there's an annual calibration. So as it is an audiometer, you send it back to us annually. We calibrate the device. We have it for about 5 to 10 business days, and then we send it back to you fully calibrated. We replace any high use parts. There's also a daily calibration, a daily output check of the calibration that I skipped over for the sake of saving time, but it takes about 30 seconds for that daily calibration. But in terms of the larger calibration of the audiometer, that's annually.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the time today. I know we're a little bit over, but the contact information is in the chat. Feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to do virtual demos like this. We actually have a monthly webinar series, and we are going to be at AIHA coming up May 19th through the 21st. So encourage your coworkers to come check us out and get your hands on the WAHTS yourself.
Yeah, we'll be at booth 207 at AOHA. Both Shoshana and I will be there, AIHA, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you both so much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I wanted to thank Dr. Shoshana Russell and Isaac Lambert for their presentation, Watts Hearing LLC for sponsoring today's product demo webinar, and all of our participants. Our Synergist webinar series will pick back up again later this summer. Please check aiha.webvent.tv for updates. Thanks to everyone again, and have a great day.